To her left is Corporate Counsel Steve Bolton, and to his left is Director of Administrative Services Kim Kleiner. This meeting is recorded by a written transcript and audio tape. Please direct all testimony into a microphone and only one person to speak at a time. If you do not already have a copy of today's agenda, please feel free to get a copy located in the rear of the room. Today we will be hearing requests for abatements from property owners who are disputing their assessments and approval denials of exemptions and/or credits. A decision may be taken under advisement, and involved parties will be notified at a later date. Per the City of Nashua bylaws, a minimum of 2 or more affirmative votes are required to approve any application. In addition, this board will hear any and all scheduled cases as long as quorums of 2 voting board members are present at this meeting. Any citizen has the right to contest the decision that this board makes. To appeal a municipality's decision on abatement application, a taxpayer may appeal to either the Board of Tax and Land Appeals or to the Superior Court, but not to both. Please contact the Assessing Department for more information. Please direct all testimony to this board and not to anyone in the audience. If you have questions, they are to be directed to the board and we will get them answered. When directing testimony to the board, please announce your name and address clearly for the record. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. If you need to have a conversation, please feel free to step outside into the hallway. Ms. Wally, are there any changes to today's agenda?
No, there are not.
Does anyone have any questions before we begin? Okay. This is the 11th meeting of 2019. We want to approve the minutes. Can I get a motion to waive the reading of the minutes of the last meeting and to accept them and put them on file?
So moved.
We'll take a vote on that. Mr. Hansberry?
Yes.
Yes, the motion is passed. That includes the public and non-public minutes. The next item is to approve the Board of Assessors decision report from the June 6, 2019 meeting as presented. Can I get a motion to accept the decision report?
So moved.
Still take a vote. Mr. Hansberry?
Yes.
Yes, so the motion is passed. New business, Ms. Kleiner, Administrative Services Director, regarding division update.
Good morning. I provided you with a memo this morning. Attached to that memo is a correspondence from our assessors to both of you and I regarding some questions that had been delivered via email. We apologize for the fact that we did not have this ready for your agenda. We wanted to make sure that our facts were completely straight, and the assessors worked on this right through last evening. But we wanted to make sure that you had it available this morning because we believe some of these questions are being brought in front of you today. As you know, our office has focused heavily on abatements. And I'd like to thank the staff for really focusing their efforts to meet our residents' expectations and getting these processed. This did require them to be very flexible with their time. Many stayed late. And although our department had other priorities, they made sure that these were completed. We have 91 residential for commercial abatements before you today. 14 residential are being held for further review by our office, 10 of which have been inspected, 4 of which we continue to find an appropriate time to meet with the property owner. I'd like to thank the staff and both of the Board of Assessor members for attending the Assessing 101 workshop held on June 17th. The CTV staff is currently processing the video, which we hope to have posted to the website by tomorrow afternoon. And we'll certainly send the board the link to that video. As noted in the presentation that staff and I gave to the Board of Aldermen on April 30th, a team of directors will be meeting with Mayor Donchis the second week of July to draft an RFP for the full measure and list that we expect to begin this fall. We will update the board as more details are available. Several projects are currently in process, some of which we've put off to make sure that the assessors had time to process the abatements. One is the Archive Pro, which we are purchasing from Patriot. That will allow residential taxpayers to go and see their property cards right online from GIS. We are waiting for a consultant to work with us on some of the technical needs for that project. But the purchase order and the agreement with Patriot for the purchase has all been completed. We have updated the website with a new section, residential taxpayer resources. We've done a lot of cleaning up of the website to make it more accessible to taxpayers. So there's a wealth of information out there, some of which we've added, some of which we have made some changes to. With the majority of residential abatement work behind us, we will continue reviewing, documenting, and finalizing our policies and procedures, and we expect to bring these forward to the board by fall. There is a change in my number since I am no longer in the mayor's office, so I have that here for you should there be any questions or concerns. As you may or may not know, we're closed next Thursday and Friday for observance of the 4th of July. So we'll be closed both the 4th and the 5th.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kleiner. Okay, communications, we have none. Appointments, Ms. Laura Colquhoun regarding the assessing data for properties located at 1 Bishop Lane, 80 Gilson Road, and L Gilson Road. Is Ms. Colquhoun here? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Laura Cahoon, and I live at 30 Greenwood Drive.
Okay, could you slide the microphone over? Oh, this one there, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Which one?
As Ms. Kleiner just mentioned, we received responses to your questions that we just received today. So you haven't seen this yet?
No.
There's a copy, I believe, in the back
Yes.
on the side.
Okay.
The second and third pages should answer your question, but I can briefly read them if that would be.
No, let me just basically say, first of all, I apologize. I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before. But I was totally upset by the response I got from Ms. Kleiner because I felt it was totally unprofessional. There was no real answer. My concern is that there seems to be a problem on Bishop. There seems to be a problem with the building permits not being closed, and therefore the assessments are not being updated. This is a house that was completely torn down in early 2018. Granted, the guy originally bought the house in September. He got a $80,000 permit in October, and then he walked in and he said, no, got to take it down to the ground, and he built it back up. Mike Mandel, who does a very good job, went out January 2019, updated the square footage and nothing else. This house is still being assessed at a 1962 ranch when it's a two-story colonial with a porch and everything else. Then looking over the website, I found at least 10 other properties where the building permit was never closed and the assessment was never adjusted. I think this is a problem that needs to be addressed. I don't work in assessing or the building department. I am asking the building department by right to know of all open permits, but of course they're scrubbing it before I get it. And at that point I will review. But There seems to be a major problem here, and I wanted to address it to the city. As far as Gilsum, that's totally different because it was originally a manufactured home when they put it on the property. But as you can see by the picture, this is no longer a transferable home. If they wanted to transfer this home, they would have to take the total roof off and all the vinyl siding. So it cannot be assessed as a mobile home. I mean, I don't think you have to be a genius to realize this. You know, and I understand it's been there for a while, it's made many changes to the outside and everything else. But it can no longer be considered a mobile home, and it's just not transportable, and it's assessed at $75,000. The addition is larger than the original home. So I wanted the city to look over that. As far as L. Gilson, this is something that we had a meeting back on March 29th with Steve Bolton and Ms. Kleiner in regards to it being part of a condo. And I understand that in Nashua, they take the condo and they wrap up the building and the land. I disagree with that because of depreciation, but that's a whole different issue. But these condos are owned in Hollis. So I want to know how Hollis is getting us the money. Give me a listing of the bills that are going out so I can review the bills. But at this point, I want to know where the money is. I think that's a very simple question. You know, all these problems, they're only hurting the Nashua residents, because if these people don't pay their fair share, we're going to get stuck paying more. So basically, that's what I wanted to bring up. So if Ms. Kleiner can give me either the account numbers or anything else where Exceptional Properties is paying their property taxes on this almost 8 acres, that would be fine. But at this point, I understand that Hollis residents are wrapping this property up with them, but they're paying Hollis and not Nashua. So give me a list and I'll be happy. Okay? That's all I have to say.
Dan, do you have anything to add on this? No, nor do I.
I would definitely like an answer on Gilsum, the 80 Gilsum, because I really do not feel that that's a mobile home. And if need be, I will take it to the Commissioner of Department of Revenue.
Can I hold?
Sure.
Let me read from what the number, we were just given this, so this is the first time I've seen it, but just to quote part of it. Although these are substantial additions to what was originally a smaller home, they do not change the construction type and quality of the original structure. As stated earlier, the home was built to HUD codes applicable at that time. Although it would take some effort, the additions could be removed. This would enable the original manufactured home to be taken off its block foundation and pulled away. Attaching something to a manufactured home, whether it's a small deck or large addition, does not change its original construction or its classification. An assessor recently spoke with the homeowner and confirmed that the original manufactured home is still in place.
Well, then I will notify the board that I am taking this up to the Commissioner, because I don't know whether this homeowner has friends in City Hall, but this is no longer a transportable mobile home, and therefore should not be assessed as a mobile home. And I think if you review the picture I sent you, this is no longer a mobile home. So I will be going to the Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, staff items. Doug Dame, here's some abatements. Doug?
Thank you, members of the board and attendees. Good morning. I have a number of items here that I'm going to recommend be denied due to insufficient information, various reasons, and that is the result of a review of the applications that I've conducted. I also have 4 recommendations before me with respect to reduction in the assessments as well. So you should have a list of perhaps 60-some-odd commercial industrial properties, residential income properties in the city that have not been, for one reason or another, either insufficient information or lack of a disclosure as to what the taxpayer's market value estimate would be for the property, therefore not giving us a basis upon which we can proceed forward, or other reasons. On that list, I'm recommending denial at this time and suggesting that they go for an appeal.
So, Mr. Chairman, per the attached list, I make the following motion: due to the taxpayer or the tax representative not providing in a timely manner acceptable or sufficient information to prove their reasons for abatement.
The motion has been made. I have no comments.
You need to second it, though.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The other four that
Okay.
you have?
Thank you. The other four properties include two properties on the Main Street area, 8 Water Street and 83 Main Street. These properties are known as were known as the Panagoulis Shoe Repair Store at the corner of Water and Main Street, as well as an small office building located on Water Street. Both properties abut one another, and both properties are owned by the same ownership. They were acquired a few years ago. Does the board have any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dan?
Can you refresh my memory? We dealt with these properties, a few to several months ago. What was the history with that?
These properties have come before the board in the past, the recent past. The owner of the property claimed or requested a 2017 abatement, which we did take a look at and process, and found that through a settlement process, we found that we could reach a consensus at that time for the older assessments on these properties. What's currently before you now are the 2018 revised assessments. And with respect to that, the owner essentially was claiming a value that went back to his acquisition price in 2017. That's not entirely relevant to the 2018 valuation. The owner presented, once again, an appraisal report that was done for bank financing for the 2017 acquisition. He resubmitted that for 2018. I took it into consideration, but I also went ahead and performed my own analysis looking for sales and rental information. And fortunately, in the ensuing time period from 2017 to currently, there has been a significant sale of a very similar property located on Library Hill. It was the former Collins Flowers shop. Many years ago, it was also known as, I believe it was a diner, Miss Nashua Diner, many years ago. And I observed what that property is very similar in vintage to the two subject properties on Main Street and Water Street. And I observed what the Collins Flowers property on Library Hill sold for on a per square foot basis, and used that information along with some other information I was able to develop on a sale in downtown Manchester of a mixed-use property, also a listing of what is known as Daryl's Music at the corner of Water Street and Main Street, right across the street from the two subject properties. Of course, that's an asking price, it's an offering, but I found it to be instructive as well. I took all of this information and presented it to the current owner and pointed out that our equalization ratio was changed, expectations, the market seems to be progressing further, in terms of appreciation in the market for properties in downtown Nashua. And I was able to renegotiate a price for 8 Water Street and 83 Main Street and performed an apportionment from there that was agreeable to Mr. Tiberi, who owns the property.
All right, thank you. So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 8 Water Street to $448,000.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve based on settlement agreement signed by both parties for the property located at 83 Main Street to $352,000.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I also have 2 properties located next to one another on West Hollis Street, numbers 64 and 66 West Hollis Street. These are 2 adjacent apartment buildings that suffered a fire back in the year 2015. The owner of the property, Mr. Butler, was able to collect the proceeds from his insurance and to do a complete rehabilitation of both properties. So 64 West Hollis Street, which is a separate parcel, has 6 apartments and a very small storefront. 66 West Hollis Street is the larger of the 2 buildings. It has 10 apartments. Both buildings have been completely remodeled. As a result of the 2018 statistical reassessment of the city, the assessment rose to somewhere in the order of $91,000 to $95,000 an apartment on average. The owner thinks that these modernized apartments are worth $65,000 a unit. I performed my own analysis, went out and searched for sales of apartment buildings and rents. I was able to find some good sales, and I've concluded a market value between $83,000 to $84,500 per apartment. Equalized, it comes down to equalized at the 2018 ratio, it comes down to $80,000 an apartment. Therefore, on that basis, I am recommending a settlement that would, for number 64, that means current assessment of $570,400 is, I'm recommending a reduction to $474,000. For number 66 West Hollis Street, current assessment is $916,400. I'm recommending a proposed assessment to $800,000. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
I have no questions.
He gets $1,200 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment?
Yes, he qualifies for Section 8 apartment rental reimbursement. And he has absolutely no problem renting these apartments at that rate in that working-class neighborhood. If you know anything about Section 8, you know that there's it's reviewed every year by the government, and there's a sort of stipulated rental rate structure. I believe it's broken down on a county level across the state. So as soon as he does have turnover on occasion. He does suffer on occasion from rental payments, at least a portion of the rental payment that the tenant is responsible for, perhaps being late. But he has virtually 100% occupancy at any given point in time.
One follow-up. Does that include utilities, that $1,200, or?
Typically, no.
No. Okay. All right.
Can I get a motion to
So, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agreement signed by both parties for the property located at 64 West Hollis Street at a value of $474,000.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. As far as 66 West Hollis Street,
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the settlement agreement signed by both parties for the property located at 66 West Hollis Street at a value of $800,000.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're all set, I think. Do we, I don't know, we did the deemed denials. We approved the outright denials. Did we approve the deemed denials on Doug's?
Was that list,
Okay.
Yes.
the deemed denials, was that captioned in that motion?
Yes, we have some 20-some-odd properties that are deemed denied properties. With that, in this case, that means that I've started substantive discussions with either tax representatives or the tax attorneys or the property owners, and we need to continue discussing and negotiating during the summer months. I'll be coming before this board at a subsequent meeting sometime before September 1st with a final recommendation, with a final recommendation regarding a settlement or denial at that time.
This is basically a way to extend the process.
To extend it, because we've started and we've been engaged in discussions on these properties already.
Okay, I think we should make a motion on those separately.
You can, of course, it's up to the two of you, but there's no need to make any
There's no
motion.
need,
with
okay.
regard
All right,
to
then
those.
we will accept that they were included in the original approval. All right, thank you, Doug. Next up is Gary.
Good morning.
Morning, Gary.
The first abatement that I have on the agenda is 73 Pine Hill Avenue. Do you have any questions regarding the information supplied?
There were just card corrections on that one?
There were card corrections made back when the KRT did the update. At the hearings, the taxpayer requested an inspection. An inspection was done and some corrections were made to the card at that point in time. She subsequently still filed an abatement after the tax bill came out, indicating that she felt that the assessment was still too high. I did an analysis on the property, came up with a market value of 198, equalized it's 187.7. It's a minor reduction in what the actual December tax bill was.
I don't have any further questions.
So I move to
Yeah.
approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 73 Pine Hill Avenue to $187,700.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 38 Williams Street,
The 38 Williams Street is a two-family home. He arrived at the value, supplying the city with an appraisal. He also purchased the property for $226,000. Visiting the property and doing an inspection on the property, there is still some knob and tube wiring which would affect the actual value of the property, because it would, if it was to sell, I'd have to go through the market. It would require updating to
Right.
code. So the analysis I came up with was a market value estimate of $226,000, which was the purchase price that the taxpayer paid, and equalized, that comes into a assessment of $214,200. The sale is a qualified sale.
Dan, do you have any other questions?
No, so I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 38 William Street to $214,200.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 11 Hillside Drive.
11 Hillside Drive, the taxpayer basically was concerned about the a data error on the property record card regarding the year that the swimming pool was installed. She later has withdrawn her assessment appeal with a letter, and the letter is dated June 4th.
Okay.
So I recommend denial on the,
I don't have any questions. You did?
Just, even though she's formally withdrawn it, we need to take action on it.
right, she's formally withdrawn it. She has indicated that she is going to have the pool filled in and that she would review it for the 2019 tax season.
All right, so I move to deny the abatement for the, move to deny the abatement for the property located at 11 Hillside Drive.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next one is 8 Corona Ave.
Yep. 8 Corona Ave, the taxpayer's basic complaint here was the condition of the home. He supplied 3 sales. After an inspection of the home, the following data corrections were made. The bathroom and kitchen were changed from average to fair as they were both dated. The metal shed was falling apart and therefore was changed from average to poor. There was other observed depreciation where the foundation in the garage has some cracks. The enclosed porch has rot on the corner, and the sill plate and the chimney bricks were cracking, and then up at the top, they had fallen off. Some were on the roof, some were on the ground. So making corrections, the data corrections, the assessment dropped from $230,700 to $224,600.
I don't have any questions. You did?
Just, whereabouts is Corona?
It abuts Marie Ave,
Okay.
Broad Street,
Yeah.
Marie Ave.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 8 Corona Ave to $224,600.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 7 Quinton Drive.
7 Quinton Drive, the taxpayer feels that the value of the property is $286,400. He supplied us with 6 sales of raised ranch-style homes. We considered the sales that he supplied. However, 5 of the 6 comps were at least 350 square feet smaller than the subject. Based on the city's analysis, we came up with a market value of $375. Equalized, that is a assessed value of $355,500, and the city recommends to lower the assessment from the $391,700 to the $355,500.
I don't have any questions.
So I
Dan?
move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 7 Quinton Drive to $355,500.
Second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 118 Leal Road.
This property, the taxpayer never gave a market value, did not indicate what she felt the property was worth. Her concern was with the parcel increase in her assessed value in comparison to other homes in Ward 8 and on Lily Road. So I took a look at some sales of raised ranches, and the city came up with a market value estimate of $303,000. The equalized assessment would be $287,200 based on that value. So the city recommends approval for $287,200. Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Just in that neighborhood, it's probably difficult finding a number of homes that are just 2 bedrooms, correct?
Correct. They're all different styles out in that neighborhood and typically not cookie cutters. So we had to go outside the neighborhood and try and find similar neighborhoods with similar styles to the subject.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 118 Lily Road to $287,200.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 10 Corona Ave.
10 Corona is the neighbor of 8 Corona, the one we just went over. Taxpayers feel the value of the property is $223,680. They arrived at this value by taking the average assessment increase of 24% based on the update and applying that to their previous assessment of 182. That's how they arrived at the 223,680. After inspecting the property, there was only one data correction that needed to be made, and that was changing the flooring from 100% hardwood to 60% carpet and 40% hardwood. Data analysis indicated that the assessment was in line with the data corrections, dropping the assessment from 243,800 to 240,600. Therefore, recommend approval to lower the assessment from the 243,800 to the 240,600.
I don't have any questions.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 10 Corona Avenue to $240,600.
I second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 68 Amherst Street.
68 Amherst Street, the taxpayers felt the market value was $216,500 based on an appraisal. They also supplied 3 sales on their own. They were also 3 of the sales that were in the appraisal. The appraisal was for the purpose of a mortgage finance transaction, and the bank nor the appraiser gave permission to use the appraisal as a document for this abatement. So the 3 sales supplied by the taxpayer were considered, and one of them was used in the city's analysis as well. Current owners purchased the property on February 27th, 2018 for $162,800, but that sale was a bank resale, and therefore it is not a qualified sale. It's not an arm's length transaction. City came up with a market value estimate of $220,000, equalized, that is an assessed value of $208,600, and the city recommends approval to the $208,600.
I don't have any questions on that.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 68 Amherst Street to $208,600.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 24 Walden Pond Drive.
24 Walden Pond Drive, taxpayer feels the market value of the property is $205,000. They supplied the city with 11 assessment comparisons of units that were larger on Walden Pond, but they felt they were assessed lower or similar to their unit. The city's analysis indicated a market value estimate of $215,000. Equalized, that assessment comes into a value of $203,800. The city recommends approval to lower the assessment from $213,700 to the $203,800.
Was that mostly because of the size difference?
There were some adjustments that had to be made. There are 4 styles of units out in the Walden Pond. They're labeled A, B, C, and D. The style A unit is A and C are single level. B and D are second level units. The style that the subject is did not have any other sales of that style. Therefore, we had to use other styles that had sold out in that area, and all the sales that were there were larger than the subject. So a adjustment had to be made for square footage for the gross living area. And some of them have wood decks, some of them have patios, so there was a minor adjustment for that. So all three of the sales comps were from the condominium development, Thoreau's Landing for Walden Pond Drive. They only needed 2 adjustments, each one, and therefore the median was chosen as the best indication of market value for that.
I don't have any other questions.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 24 Walden Pond Drive to $203,800.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 9 Nickel Lane.
9 Nickel Lane is a detached condo. It's located in the Windsor Pond condominium. The taxpayer feels the market value of his property is $213,000. He supplied 12 sales within the Windsor Pond neighborhood. However, the taxpayer did not file the abatement until June 14th, 2019, which is past the filing deadline. The taxpayer has the right to appeal his tax abatement for 2019, which will recommend to the taxpayer that he does that once he receives his December tax bill. Therefore, the city recommends denial for late filing.
I don't have any questions.
So I move to deny the abatement for the property located at 9 Nickel Lane.
Second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 6 Preserve Drive.
6 Preserve Drive, the taxpayer supplied the city with 5 sales, similar style. He feels the market value is $540,780. The city considered the comps that the taxpayer supplied, and then we actually used one of them in our analysis as well. City came up with a market value estimate of $580,000. Equalized, that's an assessment of $549,800. City recommends approval for assessment reduction to $549,800.
I don't have any questions on that.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 6 Preserve Drive to $549,800.
Second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 6 Horizon Circle.
The taxpayer here came up with a market value estimate of $535,900. They supplied the city with numerous sales of various styles and various sales of various styles and values. They started at a range of sales from 600 to 500 and basically bracketed them from 600,000 to 500,000, 500,000 to 400,000, et cetera, et cetera. We considered the comps that they supplied. We used 3 of them in our analysis as well. Because of the large number of sales that he supplied, 3 of them happened to fit in with what the city was looking at. The city came up with a market value of $575,000. Equalized, that comes to a value of $545,100. The city recommends approval of $545,100.
I don't have any questions on that.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 6 Horizon Circle to $545,100.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 7 Horizon Circle.
7 Horizon Circle, the taxpayer feels that the market value of their property is $580,000. They supplied the city with 10 sales of similar homes. They also supplied a brief narrative explaining why they felt that the assessment was high. The city considered the comps that the taxpayer used, and we used one of them in the city's analysis as well. The city came up with a market value estimate of $640,000. Equalized, that assessment is $606,700, and the city is recommending approval of a reduction to $606,700.
I don't have any questions.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 7 Horizon Circle to $606,700.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 22 Preserve Drive.
Here, the taxpayer feels the market value is $545,000. He basically supplied the city with 5 assessment comps versus sales comps. He's supplied assessments. Basically, they were indicating that these assessments were lower than the assessment that he had, that was on his property. Reviewing these assessments showed that the properties were smaller in square footage. The city considered the assessment comps, but did not give them much weight as they were all smaller. The analysis that the city put together comes up with a market value of $585,000. Equalized, that is a equalized value of $554,600. City recommends approval to reduce the assessment to $554,600.
I don't have any questions.
I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 22 Preserve Drive to $554,600.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Aye. I'm sorry, the motion carries. The next one is 28 Preserve Drive.
In this case, the taxpayer feels the market value is $550,000. They supplied the city with 6 sales of similar style homes. We did consider the comps that they supplied, and since the city's analysis, all 3 comps needed similar adjustments. Based on the analysis the city put together, the market value estimate is $540,000. Equalized, that assessment is $511,900. The city recommends approval for $511,900.
This is a 24% reduction, and this unit has a cabana with a kitchen, bath, and fireplace.
Correct.
Um,
It's also the smallest house in the neighborhood. It's 2,660 square feet, where the 3 or 4 other previous ones were all in the 3,000 square foot range. In the case of 7 Horizon Circle, it's 4,000 square feet, 4,089 to be exact. 22 Preserve Drive. Gross living area is 3,783 square feet. 6 Horizon Circle, the square footage is 3,589 square feet. In this case here, 28 Preserve Drive, the home is 2,664. So it's quite a bit smaller, even though it has the in-ground pool and the cabana. The main house itself is quite a bit smaller.
I don't have any other questions.
What I'm struggling with is that the assessed value for 17 was $542,900, and the recommendation is $540,000 for the assessed value before the equalization rate factors in. So the property has actually lost, it's a fraction of a percent in that time period.
I believe the value, the assessed value for the 2017 was too high. And I believe that was because of the neighborhood, the Preserve Drive neighborhood. The size of this home was probably most likely skewed based on the neighborhood, and I believe that is why the assessment I believe that the assessment was too high for 2017, but an abatement wasn't filed, so there was never an individual analysis done on that property for the 2017 assessment.
I think I'd like to have that one looked at again, Gary, if you don't mind.
Okay.
What do you say, Dan?
Where does that put us relative to the July 1st deadline? It just stays open?
I would have to contact them and let them know that we're still reviewing it, and that it's still in process.
I had a number, if we want to set the number.
After listening to his reasoning, I'm okay with the value. But I mean, if you want to defer it and get more information, that's fine too.
Gentlemen, you probably should speak into the mic.
Okay,
since
sorry.
Tom-
Yeah. No, I was just saying that I'm satisfied with the reasoning for the value, but that if the chairman wants to defer it, seek further information, that's also fine with me too.
Can you make a motion?
I-
You made the motion to accept
I can,
5119?
I can make that. So I would move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 28 Reserve Drive to $511,900.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next one, 19 Hadley Drive.
Yes, the taxpayer feels that the market value is $400,000. He supplied the city with 3 sales that were in the same neighborhood. However, all 3 of the sales were quite a bit larger than the subject property. They ranged from the smallest sale that he supplied was 575 square feet larger than his property, and the larger of the 3 was 1,500 square feet larger. Even though they were in the same neighborhood, I felt that because of the size of the properties, that they were probably not the best comps available. The city came up with a market value estimate of $405,000, and based on that market value estimate, the equalized value would be $383,900, and the city recommends approval for $383,900.
The comps that he provided were larger homes but priced lower.
They were larger homes and priced higher, but he was using that as an example. He was using the sale prices and the size of them as a basis for lowering his assessment. I think what he was trying to get at this was that he used the 3 sales that he used because they were in the Hadley Drive neighborhood.
I have no other questions.
I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 19 Hadley Drive to $383,900.
Second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 12 Colonial Ave.
Yes, the taxpayer here felt that their market value was $362,900. They arrived at this value by supplying 2 assessment comparables of the properties located at 14 and 15 Colonial Ave. We did review and consider the assessment comparisons, and as a result of that, we did a market analysis and arrived at a market value estimate of $395,000. Equalized, that value is reduced to $374,500, and the city recommends approval to reduce the assessment from $395,500 to $374,500.
I don't have any questions.
Move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 12 Colonial Ave to $374,500.
Second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
So I move to deny the abatement requests for various Nashua addresses per the attached list of deemed denied.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Gary. Greg, you're up.
Morning.
Morning.
The first one that I have is 16 West Hollis Street. Does the board have any questions on that property?
I don't have any questions.
I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 16 West Hollis Street to $123,000.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 8 Chautauqua Ave.
That is correct. Does the board have any questions on that property?
I don't have any questions.
So I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 8 Chautauqua Ave to $170,600.
Second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 35 Orange Street.
Yes, 35 Orange Street, 3-family with 3 one-bedroom units. Does the board have any questions on that property?
I don't have any questions.
Nor do I. So I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 35 Orange Street to $293,000.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. '96 Palm Street.
96 Palm Street, this is a 5-unit building, 3 one-bedroom units, 2 4-bedroom units. Does the board have any questions on that property?
So it's just mostly data corrections on
Correct.
that? I don't have any questions.
I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 96 Palm Street to $390,400.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 115 to 115B Palm Street.
This is another 3-family with 3 one-bedroom units. Does the board have any questions on this property?
I don't have any questions.
I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 115 and 115B Palm Street to $303,500.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 58 Caldwell Road.
58 Caldwell Road, it's a 1,607 square foot ranch-style home. This one's a little unique because it does only have 1 bedroom, and it does have an indoor swimming pool. Any questions on that?
Does the indoor swimming pool affect it negatively or positively?
Difficult to tell. It could go either way. Usually a swimming pool does add value to the home. So we broke down that area and adjusted it, being indoors, similar to what we would for a home that had an in-ground swimming pool.
I don't have any other questions.
I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 58 Caldwell Road to $256,000.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 6 Satin Avenue.
6 Satin Avenue is the manufactured home that we discussed at the last meeting.
Right.
And I was asked to get the sales price, which I did confirm through the MLS and The home buyer, it was purchased on March 2nd of 2016 for $112,000.
I don't have any other questions on that.
So I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 6 Satin Ave to $122,800.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Greg, you have a number of outright denials, and you've explained the reasons for those.
That would be the insufficient evidence, lack of support for the reasoning for the abatement.
Can I get a motion to approve the outright denials and the deemed denials?
So I move to deny the abatement requests of various national addresses per attached list of outright denials.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Move to deny the abatement requests of various national addresses per attached list of deemed denials.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
That's all
Thanks,
I have.
Greg.
Thank you very much.
Michael?
Good morning.
Morning.
My first property is at 73 Vine Street. I'm recommending approval. It is a conventional style single-family home. The owner's opinion of value is $129,000. The city came up with an estimated value of $131,000 with an equalized assessment of $124,200. Does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions on that. Dan?
Nor do I. So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 73 Vine Street to $124,200.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
My
There-
second property is located at 37 Chestnut Street. It's a two-family unit. The taxpayer's opinion of value was $136,986. The city came up with a value of $183,300 with an equalized assessment of $173,800. Does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions on that.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 37 Chestnut Street to $173,800.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Next up is another two-unit located at 74 Concord Street. The opinion of value from the taxpayer was $400,000 based on comparable sales and an appraisal dated from October of 2017. I made some data corrections, and based on those corrections and an analysis, I came up with with a value of $439,000 equalized to $416,200. Does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 74 Concord Street to $416,200.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The next property is one of two located on Northwood Drive where the taxpayers are requesting a reduction because of a power line easement. In this case, I'm recommending an approval of $301,700. I'm not recommending that any reduction be made because of the power line easement, because they are already receiving a 5% discount.
I don't have any questions on that one.
Nor do I. So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 22 Northwood Drive to $301,700.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Motion carries. 6 Royal Oak Drive.
Correct. The next one, the taxpayer has an opinion of value of $295,000 based on comparable sales and because of and they asked relief because of a 15-foot wide drainage easement that runs along the westerly boundary of the property. She is also looking for at least 10 years back worth of taxes. I did an analysis of this sales analysis, and I found that our assessment is correct. I do not believe that a reduction based on the easement is warranted, and I'm recommending a denial.
I don't have any questions on that.
I move to deny the abatement for the property located at 6 Royal Oak Drive.
I'll second that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 23 Northwood.
Right, this is the other property on Northwood Drive where the taxpayer is requesting abatement based on the power line easement. In this case, I am recommending a denial.
I don't have any questions on that.
Move to deny the abatement for the property located at 23 Northwood Drive.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 7 Fairway Street.
Yes, this is a single-family home with a large outbuilding. The taxpayer's opinion of value is $424,100. Based on data corrections, I propose lowering the assessment to $426,600. Any questions on this?
I have no questions.
I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 7 Fairway Street to $426,600.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 26 Sagamore Road.
Right, this is a single-family ranch-style home. The taxpayer's opinion of value is $270,000 based on comparable sales. I considered but did not rely on 3 of the 4 comparable sales provided by the taxpayer because they were either too old or in poor condition than the subject. Analysis was done, and the city came up with a market value of $290,000. Equalized would be $274,900.
I don't have any questions.
Move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 28 Sagamore Road to $274,900.
I'll second that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 87 to 87 and a half Ash Street.
Right. This is a multifamily, 3 units, consists of 2 buildings. The taxpayer's opinion of value is $260,000. The city's market value is $317,000. Equalized would be $300,500. Does the board have any questions on this?
And that's primarily for the data corrections?
Correct.
I don't have any other questions.
I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 87 to 87 and a half Ash Street to $300,500.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 36 Vine Street.
Right. This is a 2-unit, a family flat located at 36 Vine Street. The owner's opinion of value is $230,000. Based on analysis, the city came up with a market value of $262,000, equalized to $248,400. Does the board have any questions on this?
I don't have any questions.
I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 36 Vine Street to $248,400.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 75 Concord Street.
This is a single-family antique-style home. The owner's opinion of value is $530,400, based on data from a New England real estate year-over-year market data. I believe this is a free service. Based on data corrections, I recommend lowering the assessment to $671,600. Any questions on this?
Mike, the reduction of about $105,000 for the errors, the listing, the card errors, it seems a bit high to me. I don't know is there one that stands out that,
Over this last update, the grade of the building was changed from B+ to A-, very good. This raised the assessment considerably. Looking over the file, this building had been rated B+ for many years, and I consider it still to be B+.
okay.
It took up a large portion of the lowering of the assessment.
I don't have any other questions.
Let's see what- So, I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 75 Vine Street to $671,600.
75 Concord Street.
75 Concord Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. A lot on Hanover Street, L Hanover Street.
Correct. The taxpayer did not provide or an opinion of value. Based on an inspection of the garage, I recommend lowering the assessment from $31,300 to $26,700.
I don't have any questions on that.
So there's 4 properties.
Correct.
So there's an owner-occupied 2-family.
Correct.
Then the owner owns a 2-family.
Correct.
Then there are 2 lots with garages that are not attached to the 2 properties, is that correct?
That is
They're deeded
correct.
separately, so you have 4 separately deeded properties, is that correct?
That is correct, yes. 2 of them have houses, 2 of them just have garages on them. One is a buildable lot, and we'll get to that shortly. And this one is just a very small sliver. The actual land value of this, I believe, is only $5,300. The bulk of the assessment is on the 2 garages.
So,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
so they've made a deliberate decision on the smaller lot not to merge the 2 deeds, is that?
That is correct. I don't know the exact reason why. I suspect it is because it would be assessed at a much higher rate per square foot.
And then the second property, logically, it makes sense if it's big enough for a house lot, why would you combine the 2, correct?
Right.
And then is this located between West Hollis and Kinsley, or Kinsley and Blossom?
West Hollis and Kinsley.
That's all right, okay.
No, I think it's West Hollis and Kinsley.
West
yes.
Hollis and Kinsley?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Do the garages have curb breaks so you can drive up into the garage? Are they being used?
Yes.
Do you know?
Yes. they do.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at L Hanover Street to $26,700.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 25 Hanover Street.
Right. This is the 2-unit that abuts the garage we just discussed. The owner did not provide an opinion of value. The city came up with a market value of $223,000, equalized to $211,400. It is based on some data corrections and market analysis. Does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 25 Hanover Street to $211,400.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The next-
Another lot on Hanover Street.
Right. This is the other lot we just discussed. It is a buildable lot. I'm recommending a denial. Does the board have any
You
questions on
recommending
this?
denial on this one?
Mhm.
I have no questions on this.
Is that the typical square footage for an inner-city lot, that is?
Yes, and there are some that are even a little smaller.
So I move to deny the abatement for property located at L Hanover Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 34 Silverton Drive.
Right, this is a townhouse. The owner's opinion of value is $190,000 based on property, errors on the property record card. I did an inspection, made some adjustments, and recommend lowering the assessment from $204,700 to $187,200. Does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions on this.
Move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 34 Silverton Drive to $187,200.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 27 Ledgewood Hills Drive.
The subject is a townhouse-style condominium. The owner's opinion of value is $265,000 based on condition and comparable sales. I made some adjustments to the property record card that lowered the assessment slightly, but based on comparable sales, I recommend lowering the assessment from $294,600 to $252,200, with the market value being $266,000.
I don't have any questions on that.
I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 27 Ledgewood Hills Drive to $252,200.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 223 Millwright Drive.
Right, the subject is a townhouse-style condominium located in the Millstone 2 condominiums. The taxpayer did not provide a clear opinion of value. However, the abatement was based on condition and comparable sales. I made an inspection of the property and changed the square footage of the first floor level. And I also did a sales comparison. This lowered the assessment to $103,300. The market value I came up with was $109,000. Does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Where's this condo complex located?
Yeah, it's very close to the Merrimack line off of Amherst Street.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 223 Millwright Drive to $103,300.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 29 Baltimore Road.
This is a raised ranch without land located in Trestlebrook. This property is unique in that it is one of 12 properties that has a full basement. Most of the places in Trestlebrook do not. I believe there are about 138 homes out there, and I think only 12 have foundations. The owner's opinion of value was $180,000. I came up with a market value of $193,000, equalized to $183 even. Does the board have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 29 Baltimore Road to $183,000.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 27 Baltimore Road.
Correct. This is the neighboring home. It is also located in Trestlebrook. The taxpayer's opinion of value is $168,500. The difference between these two is this was in a little poor condition, and I came up with a market value of $172,000 equalized to $163,100. Does the board have any questions on this?
It's kind of a big reduction, but I guess the maintenance,
Right.
deferred maintenance is significant, I guess. I don't have any other questions.
Move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 27 Baltimore Road to $163,100.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 21 to 23 Hanover Street.
Right, this is next to the other property we just discussed. This is also a two-unit. The taxpayer did not provide an opinion of value on this either. I came up with an assessed market value of $238,000, equalized to $225,600. This particular building abuts the buildable lot. Does the board have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions on this.
Move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 21 to 23 Hanover Street to $225,600.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Michael, you have some deemed denials you're still working on, is that it?
Yes, I have two that I've just recently completed and are under peer review. They'll be ready for the August 1st meeting. Two others that I'm still waiting to hear back from the taxpayer to set up an appointment to do an inspection. We've tried contacting them several times. We'll be sending out letters Monday.
Can I get a motion to approve the denials of the deemed denied abatement requests?
Per the attached list. So moved.
Second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Rob? Sorry. Okay. Okay, appointments for taxpayers with abatements presented by KRT. Cheryl Wally regarding the abatement of property located at 12 Briarcliff Drive.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Hansberry has something that he might want to say on this, and before we get too far in, this might be an appropriate time.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from acting on this abatement application.
That's okay.
I guess there's nothing to say.
So we, should we continue, or
Well, I've
don't
recused
have a-
myself, so you don't
we don't
have
have
a
a
quorum.
quorum? Next is Mr. Michael Duran regarding the abatement on the property located at 14 Massasoit Road.
Good morning, and thank you for hearing this abatement. My wife and I and our two kids purchased this property in the spring of 2017 for $280,000, and it was listed on the open market. The prior people that came in and terminated their contract were an investor. I just generally don't understand, the reason for the abatement is I don't understand how the town came up with a value of $396,800. In support of my abatement, I attached an appraisal, which includes comps and market analysis, and the opinion of value in that appraisal is $310,000. When I reviewed KRT's abatement recommendation, not only was I surprised to see many untrue statements in that recommendation, but more importantly, I was surprised to see that there was really no value opinion given, no comps, no sort of real appraisal given by KRT. I don't know if I should go through and point out some of the factual problems with some of the things that were said, but again, none of it really comes up to a value estimate or a value opinion. For instance, we did not replace the bathroom. We have not replaced all of our wiring. We have improved the kitchen somewhat. The basement still floods when it rains, and we have not done significant site work, at least as to the applicable time period. So, it's hard to imagine that the property value has climbed from $280,000 to $396,000 in a year or less. Again, my opinion of value is higher than the price I paid a year prior. In fact, it's $30,000 higher, and I believe that's sufficient enough increase, certainly probably more than even any market would typically increase. So based on the fact that KRT has presented no real opinion of value, I would ask that the board approve my abatement and the tax reduction to $310,000.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for coming forward, Mr. Duran. The sale, the transfer of the property, it's what we call not an arm's length sale. So the price that the buyer pays, be it you or anyone for that matter, is not considered reliable and is not taken into consideration when setting assessments. So if we were doing a comp for, say, another property similar to yours, and your house happened to be one that came up, we would discount your house and not include it. So if you go back to 2017, the assessed value was $321,200, right? You purchased it for $280,000.
Yes.
So we would look at the increase coming off of the $321,200 rather than the $280,000.
Yes, I understand that you would not consider my sale a qualified sale. I can tell you it was on the open market. I can also tell you that that doesn't change the evidence presented to the board here regarding market comps. And I would, just to speak to the condition of the property, we bought this property. I don't know if I would do it again. It needs significant improvement. The roof on the garage is basically falling down. There needs to be improvements on the roof of the main house. The wiring is from the 1960s throughout the entire house. It's going to be significant cost to replace all the wiring in the house. It's on low voltage systems, so we did have to replace. I actually don't think any wiring was replaced in the relevant time period, but recently we have had to replace some wiring because lights have failed. So, I think if the town is going to hire KRT and KRT is going to come in here and contest some abatement requests, they actually have to present real evidence, and they have to do a market comparison and an opinion of value. And if they're not going to do that, I don't see how you can deny my abatement here today when I've presented evidence, whereas KRT has actually presented just a few false facts, no opinion of value, no comps.
Do we get to speak on this, or do we have to wait?
Yes, you can speak.
The burden of proof for an abatement is on the taxpayer. The taxpayer has to prove that the assessment is disproportionate or not to market value. In this case, we felt that it wasn't done. The purchase price, as discussed, was non-arm's length. Therefore, we feel comfortable with the denial of this abatement.
If I may address that, that is not a market opinion, okay? I have met my burden when I presented comps in this appraisal and an opinion of value. The town has not shifted the burden back without presenting an actual opinion.
Do I get to speak on that?
Yep.
Is this on? When I did the inspection, the lady that took me through showed me the improvements that had been done. She showed me that the wiring had been completely done over. She took me down in the basement, and all I remember seeing was Romex. I saw some evidence of some old knob and tube there, but it wasn't in use.
You saw some evidence of what?
Some old wiring, some old knob and tube that was there.
So
but
you admit that some of the wiring was old, and I will tell you and assert to you today, to the board, that wiring was not, first of all, that's not all the wiring in the house. That's some wiring, and that wiring was not replaced at the time, the relevant time period.
Mr. Drain, you need to address the board, not
Yes, sure.
KRT.
Sure. I'm sorry, I'm a bit heated because there are some absolute misstatements in this report. And I
And
say
we're-
there's no
we're-
pictures to support it and no other evidence.
Board, we're under no obligation to provide sales comps. The assessment is the assessment. The onus is on the taxpayer to provide burden of proof that the assessment is incorrect. In this case, we felt that it was just not complete. It was not done. They did not prove that the assessment was incorrect. Therefore, it warrants a denial. Nothing that says we have to provide a sales comp. We use 649 single-family residential sales throughout the city to set the tables and calibrate the model to set the assessments. There's no reason to confuse a fee appraisal or a sales grid with mass appraisal. We have a canvas system, a very powerful canvas system, that is capable of producing assessments based on the residential sales that took place in the city.
I trust that the board has in front of it the abatement recommendation, and I would ask you to very quickly look at that and try to determine whether there's actually a value opinion there, because you will not find a value opinion. You will not find comps. You will not find a discussion of the neighborhood. You will not find any even statement of opinion of value. And I think at a minimum that the town has to provide a opinion of value to rebut my valid opinion of value with comps. And on that basis, I request that the board grant the reduction to $310,000.
Our opinion stays firm of the assessment of 396.8. That's our opinion of value, the assessment.
That's not reflected in their document here. I asked the board to simply look at evidence that's relevant, which are the comps and the opinion I provided. Unproven updates with no reference to the time period are simply not relevant if you don't give an opinion.
Well, it was inspected on May 30th, and the upgrades were visible then, right, or obvious at that time?
was inspected, I think, recently. So May 30th, 2019, it was inspected.
That's correct.
And the appropriate period is 2018.
Were building permits pulled for the work that you did?
We did pull a building permit where we had to, which was we had to, swap out the furnace, and we had to do that. But it was cosmetic in the kitchen.
The kitchen had been fully rehabbed, along with a room that was in front of the kitchen. I would define it as a dining area. And there was a new septic. Actually, the bank paid for that. And the bathrooms have been remodeled.
That is absolutely incorrect. The bathrooms have not been touched, except to add doors to the cabinets, because when we bought the house, there were no doors on the cabinets. So that is an absolute misstatement to say that the bathrooms have been updated. They have not been updated. They are as reflected in the pictures, substantially reflected in those pictures that I presented. The town cannot rely on this type of information and cannot rely on a situation when even no opinion of value is given. So, the town had their opportunity. They didn't meet their burden.
Mr. Duran, Nashua is a city. It's not a town. And an opinion of value has been given, and KRT is recommending that that not be changed. So you may want to modify the statements that you've made now about 4 times.
So you're asserting that this is an appropriate opinion of value on behalf of the city?
Opinion of value is that the assessment is correct.
So, okay. Then what is the basis for the original value?
I'm not going to debate you, sir. If you
Okay,
want
and
to address the board, you may. But
Well, you
I
addressed
ask-
me, and I'm
I-
just,
I ask you not to keep repeating things.
I believe you asked me to not refer to the city as a town, and I apologize to the extent I've referred to the city as a town. I apologize. I believe it's the city of Nashua.
The only building permit we see is one taken out April 30th, 2018. It has 0 value. Is that the only one that you've pulled?
Yes.
Dan, do you have any thoughts?
Well, we haven't reviewed this with KRT other than during this public session, so I would probably hold off any further discussion until it comes up within the agenda.
Okay. So Mr. Duran will address this issue when we go through the list with KRT coming up shortly. So we're not going to make a decision right now.
And may I be present at that?
Yes, it'll be later in this meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Should I expect a decision today?
I'm sorry?
Should I expect a decision from the board today?
Possibly, I can't say definitely.
Okay. And just for the record, I believe you guys know I'm requesting a decision today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Arthur Corazzini and Mrs. Karen Corazzini regarding abatement on property located at 12 Beeson Street.
I'm Karen Corazzini, 12 Beeson Street. In December 2015, 12 Beeson Street was assessed at $295,900. It was sold to us on January 10th, 2016 for $549,500. The assessors then realized the figure had not been updated since 2008 and immediately raised the value to 2016 levels. Based on Zillow and professional photography photos, it was raised to $448,000. That's about a 51% increase without any adjustment to any neighboring properties. When appealed to the state board, the city defended the number as consistent with sales ratios for Nashua properties sold and assessed in 2016. We find the statement of city employees at the time we first made our concerns knowing, admitting that there had been a lapse of some sort on their part, but now, quote unquote, we were told someone has to pay. This is outrageous. The willingness of the assessors to use Zillow with erroneous data and visibly distorted visual data as basis in evaluating the quality and size of our property is deplorable. The city's claim that no sales chasing was involved and that comparable sales of city properties to be false. In response to the KRT 2018 appraisal, we spoke with Ken Rogers, the president, at the Ward 3 hearing, to which he promised to review our records, complaints, and mail us a response. To date, we've had no reply. Interestingly, our abatement, which we filed, has now been assigned to KRT. Upon request from the assessing office to be given the detailed review or report, following the review, we received a short, generic cover letter stating he agrees with the current assessment. Quote, unquote. The assessment changed from $295,900 to $448,700 the following year based on some type of video produced by Zillow. How many properties in Nashua are assessed based on videos recorded by Zillow? Is this a new rule for the Nashua Assessing Department? We received no notes, no details, no documentation attached to this KRT abatement review. We requested a follow-up from Ms. Kleiner to provide KRT's full report, but to date, we have had no response. So are we to assume that the assigned KRT abatement review was as simple as a Zillow video as basis for a fair assessment? May we assume now that all future properties that assessed in Nashua will be assessed and have a requirement to provide a Zillow video? Based on the equalization rate in Nashua as provided by the state of New Hampshire, in 2015, 88.5%, the assessment was $295,900. Therefore, the market value would be $334,350. 2016, the ratio rate, 84.5%. Our assessment, $448,700. That would mean a fair value for the house, $531,005. That's very close to what we paid, almost 100%, at least 90-some. This is a 51% increase. Okay, 2017, the ratio is 79.1%. Our assessment went down a bit because of errors on the Zillow program, $446,100. Now, the fair value, market value, would be $563,969. This exceeds the purchase price. Now, KRT assessment 2018, with a 94.8%, we received a 17% increase. Our assessment now is $534,800. That makes a fair market value purportedly of $564,135. That far exceeds what we paid for the house just 2 years prior. As noted, we had already been updated. We were almost 100%. So why did KRT add another 17% onto our assessment? We were the only ones in our neighborhood that had been increased, were up to date. But yet we received another increase. Obviously, KRT never even bothered to access the property card to note our update, and they never read the 3 pages of comparables that we had prepared. We had 1 page, neighborhood comparisons. 2, we had price or sale price comparisons. And 3rd, we had house style comparisons. For this, KRT was paid to access 12 Beeson Street. Thank you.
Ms. Corazini, can I ask, who told you that the assessment was changed because of a video recorded by Zillow?
This is from KRT.
Those words are in her abatement application. Those were words that came from her statement in the abatement application.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Mrs. Corzini, you paid $549,934 on January 16th of 16?
Yeah, I think I said rounded off 500, the other things.
And your opinion of value 2 years later is $470,000, is that correct?
I am fitting it in with the neighborhood. We're one of the smallest houses in the neighborhood. The house next door to us is a double lot, a very large colonial house, a swimming pool, tennis court, cabana, and they're assessed at, I believe, $493,000.
So you're saying that you overpaid $80,000 for the house?
We don't really compare to next door. I mean, we're half the size, not only in land, lot, and so on. We probably did overpay. We came from Washington, D.C. We did not know all the prices and so on. We wanted to find a place where we would settle and stay. Should be our last house. We wanted a place in a safe neighborhood, convenient to elderly relatives in Massachusetts.
Had you looked at other properties in addition to the Beeson Street property?
No.
So that was the...
We had other areas in New Hampshire to which we had looked, yes. But the other advantage, the house had been updated. It was ready to go. My husband and I are elderly, so we're not in the position to grab ladders and do roof repairs, et cetera.
And then if you do the math, what you came up with a market value of $564,135, right? I did the math. That's unless I made a
Yeah,
mistake.
that's with the 94.8%
Right.
of your equalization rate.
Right. And you believe that the property would not sell for that price if you were to put it on the market today?
Probably not.
So you're arguing that over a period of 2 years, the property has not gone up $15,000 in value?
Not that much, probably. And the minute people see the price of the house, a two-bedroom house, and the tax rate, they're going to other neighborhoods or other houses.
All right,
Zillow had listed it as 4 bedrooms. That didn't matter to us. We viewed the house. It has 2 bedrooms. It's in total 6-room house.
And do the other 2 rooms that were listed as bedrooms, do they have closets in them?
Yes,
They do have closets.
but on the Zillow listing, it had 4 bedrooms. There were no closets. One had no doors. They had children, and they used them as bedrooms.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.
Next, Mr. Oliver Lapointe regarding the abatement on property located at 29 Monica Drive.
Good morning. My name is Oliver Lapointe. I live at 29 Monica Drive. I did present an abatement on time, and the reason I'm here is just to make sure that the board looks at the whole thing, not just one person. I had a gentleman that came back and visited my house, I'm going to say probably a month ago. The guy was very unprofessional. I used a different word with Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. The guy walked in my house. I couldn't even explain to him what my house is. He walked in the house, went through, walked on the first floor, looked in the room, walked in the attic, looked, came back down, out of the house. This is within 5 minutes, sirs. How can you put a price on a house if you visit it just 5 minutes and the owner cannot say nothing? The guy was very unprofessional. My house is not a conventional house. It's a solar house. I built it myself. It's all masonry. Even the first floor is masonry. The exterior walls are all masonry. Because of the thickness of the wall and the solar drum wall, there's a loss of living space of 378 square feet compared to a conventional house. There's a lot of right-of-way. I know I have 3.8 or 3.85 acre of land. There's 2 or 3 right-of-way, and that results in a loss of square footage of almost 25,000 square feet on the whole property. Also, there's a lot of wetland. The wetland limits the place. Now, over the years, I lived there since 1980. Over the years, I'm always assessed more than all my neighbor. Why is my neighbor going up 10% and I'm going up 40 or 20%? To me, to be fair, it should be the same. Also, I have a long driveway. I'm going to say to get to the house, the driveway is probably like 400 feet long to get to the garage because the lot sits in the back. Now, the entry is a street stud, and that stud I don't own, the city owns it. I maintain it, I made it beautiful, but am I supposed to be charged for that right away? I don't think so. Now, being a masonry frame house, it's harder to eat in the winter because of the concrete mass, because I have a cement block outside, a little insulation, and a cement block inside, so it's all masonry. The sun in the winter doesn't really work that good in this country, in this part of the country anyway. This was built as a solar house. We were estimating that, you'd have so much gain, but in reality, it doesn't happen. Plus, I have some large trees that I kept in place to shade me for the summer. All I'm asking the board is to review my application and be fair. Now, Gary, that I know good, has visited my house. If you have any question, you can ask Gary. I want to thank the board.
Mr. Lapointe, I have a quick question. Did you say the walls are double block walls, the two
Yes.
layers?
The walls are like 18-inch thick, and the trum wall itself on the first, on the basement is like, I'm going to say 3 feet by 28 feet, which is the larger, not 28. It's, I'm losing 3 feet by 34 foot long. Plus, the rest of the wall are 18-inch thick, everywhere. And there's no basement. The basement is a finished kitchen. It's a walkout. And there's no other basement, so there's limited storage space. I have a garage that's attached to the house itself, though.
The measurements are done on the exterior, you know that, right? So
Excuse me?
the dimensions are taken from the exterior.
Yes, yes,
So the,
yes. My house is 28 foot by
right.
34, and the garage is, I think it's 26 or close to 27 by 26, I think. You
but
should
there's-
have, it should be all on the paper here, I think.
But there's no compensation for wall thickness to determine living space, unfortunately.
When I say I compared it to a conventional house, the 378 feet loss, I deducted the wall for the conventional house. So the loss, if I was going to take a full loss, I would lose more than that. But I compensated for a 6.5-inch wall for a traditional house.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Lapointe, what do you have for what they call yard items? You said, is that a two-car garage?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a one door, but it's a bigger door.
And do you have other structures in the yard?
Yes, there's a shed in the back.
And is that it as far as yard items go?
Excuse me?
Is that it as far as yard items go? You don't have like a gazebo or anything like that?
No, I have 2 or 3, I got 2 little wood shed that date back from when I started there. One of them is dating back from 1979, and I have another little, I'm going to say maybe 6 by 8 pump house where I have a pump in there, and I use water from the wetland in a little pond to water my grass.
That's in addition to the 2 sheds, or is that one of the 2 sheds?
That's an addition.
In addition, okay.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Lapointe.
you're welcome.
Request to speak, please.
Request what?
Request to speak.
Sure.
I would. I've been with the assessing department nearly 20 years, and I have never seen the treatment of people filing an abatement that people are receiving now, whose abatements have been assigned to KRT. I find it completely unfair. This is what it comes down to. People spend months. Some of these people submitted appraisals, and nothing is mentioned. I don't even think the board members got their abatement. And I'm the secretary to the board. I know I didn't send it to the board. But this is just completely unacceptable for a taxpayer. Why the people that were chosen to have their abatement assigned to KRT and receive some substandard treatment, I will never know. However, I'm an employee of the city. I think I deserve better than this. And not just because I'm an employee of the city, but because I devoted a lot of my life to the city. And the in-house assessors, you get almost with every abatement, you get a grid, a sales grid. They did nothing with these, nothing to arrive at the value. I just don't think it's fair. I'm not going to speak to my abatement today. I just wanted to, I feel bad for all these people who's represented by KRT. They keep saying, in my professional opinion. In my opinion, they are not professional. I think you've heard that from the majority of those who spoke today. For the city to allow this, I'm very, very disappointed. Very. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is are the 47 abatement requests that were handled by KRT. Each one of them is given to us in the form of a one-page statement, which is different from the way we usually get our abatement requests. I'm not sure, this has come up mentioned by a number of owners that they wondered why things were done differently by KRT than the standard procedure of the assessing department. I don't know why it's handled differently, or why KRT was chosen to do these 47 requests. Do you have anything to offer on this, Dan? I don't know.
Other than I would recommend we continue to proceed with the meeting.
Okay, well, let's go forward then. The first request, the first amendment, first abatement request is for 398 Main Street.
Are there any questions regarding that abatement?
There was no access allowed to you to get into the house. So on that basis, you requested a denial. I don't have any questions on that one.
So I move to deny the assessment reduction for the property located at 398 Main Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next one is 12 Briarcliff Drive.
This is the one
And
that,
I've recused myself. Right.
Okay, we don't have a quorum on that one. The one after that is 2 Dartmouth Street.
Are there any questions, board?
I have a question. When was the inspection done? Was it an on-site inspection?
Yeah, Joy was there on June 3rd of this month.
I don't have any questions on this one.
So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 2 Dartmouth Street.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next one is 29 Underhill Street.
Are there any questions, board?
Five recent sales comparables. They support the assessment.
Yeah, what we did is we reviewed the comparables and checked the subjective areas, the grade and depreciation that was assigned. And if they are consistent, then the assessment is considered, in our opinion, to be equitable and fairly applied. So we found sales that where the grade and condition were equitable and consistent with the subject property. And the data was found to be accurate.
I don't have any questions on that
I
one.
move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 29 Underhill Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next one is 10 to 16 D Street. D, right?
Any questions, board?
I don't have any questions.
I move to deny the abatement request for tax year 2018 for the property located at 10 to 16 D Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next one is 10 Sherman Street.
Any questions, board?
I don't have any questions on that one.
I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 10 Sherman Street and set the new value at $382,400.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next one, 14A Auburn Street.
Are there any questions, board?
I have no questions on that one.
Move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 14 to 14A Auburn Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 21 to 23 Amherst Street.
Are there any questions, board?
I don't have any questions.
Move to, let's see, deny the abatement request for the property located at 21 to 23 Amherst Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 26 to 28 Perham Street.
Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 26 to 28 Perham Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 14 Whitney Street.
Are there any questions?
This one has no parking whatsoever. In fact, there's very little border around the building, and it only had a $4,800 reduction for that. I thought that was a bit low.
Was a reduction given to the land to account for the lack of parking? It seemed adequate compared to other similar properties.
I looked at the abutting properties on that block, French Hill, where the subject is. None of them have any parking, and none of them had been given an adjustment for that. This subject has, he leases parking a block away.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
That's going to be green.
That's better.
Just don't touch that.
Okay, so I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 14 Whitney Street and set the value at $486,700.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 6 to 8 D Street.
Are there any questions, board?
I don't have any questions.
So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 6 to 8 D Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 77 Lock Street.
Are there any questions, board?
76. I don't have any questions on that.
Move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 77 Lock Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 80 West Hollis Street.
Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 80 West Hollis Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 10 Arlington Street.
Are there any questions, board?
Did you determine what the income analysis would be on that?
Student income on this one?
Apparently not. 10 Arlington.
Is income provided correct?
Doesn't appear so.
No, there was not. Did you review the income in the camera?
Yeah. Yeah, I looked for sales.
Yeah, for the greater than 4 units, the income was looked at in the CAMA system, and used that to reconcile against the market-adjusted cost approach for the the assessment.
It did take it into consideration?
It took what the owner provided certainly into consideration, of course.
Yes.
I don't have any questions on that.
I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 10 Arlington Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 22 Amherst Street.
Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions on that one.
Move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 22 Amherst Street and set the value at $235,600.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 967 West Hollis Street.
Are there any questions, board?
I don't have any questions.
Move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 967 West Hollis Street
I'm sorry.
and set the value at $238,500.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 64 McKean Street.
Are there any questions?
Did the owner know that you were coming out, or they denied
We attempted
access?
to contact every property owner through phone calls. We made multiple attempts to schedule appointments. I'm not sure if,
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yeah.
please? I was never contacted by phone, or they never came, I was never contacted at all. That's a misstatement. I'm sorry, but I have to say that.
For this property or for 12?
For my
For
property.
your property,
He
okay.
just said he contacted every property owner. He did not contact me. I 100% know that that is a misstatement.
yes, you're correct. We did not contact you for an inspection.
Okay, so just want to make that statement, because,
I was referring to all these.
okay.
I have no other questions on that.
So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 64 McKean Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 12 Whitney Street. I don't have any questions.
No questions?
So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 12 Whitney Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. 29 Monica Drive.
Just to answer some of the questions that were provided by the homeowner prior, there's been a 25% reduction in the land for the easements that were discussed. And there's a 15% functional obsolescence applied for, the note says heat. I assume it's to account for the thickness of the walls, which causes the heat issue. So it was our opinion that the issues addressed by the homeowner were taken into account by the land reduction and also by the functional obsolescence that was already applied on the card, and that no further reductions were warranted.
I don't have any other questions.
But in fact, not only was a reduction not warranted, you're saying that a $2,100 increase is an honor.
Based on data, the corrections that were found at the property inspection, yes.
And the percent increase from 261 to 345, what was that as a percentage increase? Do you-
I don't have that information available. I don't have a calculator with me.
Just want to do that.
Almost a 30%.
Almost 30%. It's 32%. I know for quartile 2, yeah, you broke it down into 4 quartiles.
Sale price quartile?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. If you were on the margin, increase of 30% in the low 30s was quite common.
Very, very common, yes.
And he would be moving into the 3rd quartile, because the cutoff for quartile 2 was, I can't remember the exact number, but it was in the low 220s. And so he's moved into like the 3rd quartile. What was a typical, do you know off the top of your head what a typical increase was for somebody in the 3rd quartile?
I certainly don't off the top of my head. That was a sheet that I produced many, many months ago. I do know that as you increased in sale price quartiles, the percent change did drop.
Right.
For sure. I just don't know the exact numbers offhand.
And would he be an outlier as he's climbing closer to the top of the 3rd quartile with this kind of a price increase?
Yeah, certainly could be. Again, it's, the only other thing that we had considered was possibly increasing the functional obsolescence. But after discussion, we decided that that wasn't warranted, that the reduction that was given was fair. So I don't see anything else, any of the subjective areas that are here on the property record card, I don't see as areas that could be changed. It's certainly a unique property that has some unique challenges, I'm sure, but where they were already accounted for on the property record card with historical adjustments, we felt that there was no additional adjustments that were needed. We certainly didn't put that heat adjustment on there. We didn't do any data collection as part of our project, and we didn't put that easement adjustment. Those are historical adjustments that have been there for years, I'm sure.
So you ready for a motion?
Yep.
I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 29 Monica Drive.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. "14 Grove Street."
Are there any questions?
I have no questions on that one.
So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 14 Grove Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 12 Beeson Street.
Are there any questions the board has regarding this one?
Mr. Chairman?
I have no other questions on that.
The owner has said that it's a 6-room house, and that it was listed at the time as a 4-bedroom house, and she confirmed that the 2 rooms, which are not bedrooms, do have closets in them, but they're lacking room doors.
I verified it is 2-bedroom.
It is a 2-bedroom.
Yes. Yeah. That's correct. 2 of them don't have closets.
Pardon me?
Two of them don't have closets, that's right.
Oh, they do not have closets.
They do not have closets. There are two bedrooms there.
See,
And the purchase price on the home was $549,934. And the assessed value is $534,800.
That's correct.
That's 2 years after the purchase.
In an appreciating market.
And the homes that are in the top quartile experience the smallest amount of appreciation.
Correct, yes.
smallest percentage.
Right. And this is reflecting a lower value than what she
It seemed
for
like a
the
fair
property.
assessment upon our review, so, compared to the sales price.
Did you have difficult, this is similar to the property that one of the city assessors presented, I think it was Mr. Gary Turgis, with Lily Road, where it's a high-end development. Most of the properties would be 3, 4, maybe even 5-bedroom homes. So the property on Lily was certainly an outlier as far as bedrooms go. And in this neighborhood, the Beeson Street neighborhood, that would probably be an outlier. Would you agree with that or not?
I would, yeah, I'm sure when the owner purchased it for $549,000, they were well aware of how many bedrooms they had and purchased it for that price based on the existing home that was there, given its limitations of just 2 bedrooms.
And did you look for other properties, either in that neighborhood or in other high-end neighborhoods in Nashua that were 2-bedroom structures?
We didn't. If we didn't have a purchase price of this particular subject property, we certainly would have done that analysis. But where this property transferred, it just seemed like a moot exercise.
Do you know, this has always been a 2-bedroom, it was not converted by the current owners, correct?
I'm not aware of that. Are you aware of that?
It looked like it had always been 2 bedrooms.
Now, at the high end of the market, there hasn't been a whole lot of appreciation. There's a downward adjustment 2 years later to the value of the property. I think I'd be hard-pressed to make an argument against it, other than the fact that it, where it is just a 2-bedroom home, but I mean, there are 2 bedrooms. That's what, about a 3% reduction in
Yeah.
an appreciating market.
I need to be excused for just a minute, please. Right back.
She's killing her.
Yeah.
Why don't I make the motion? You can, unless you have another idea.
No, I'll make the motion to deny the abatement request for the property at 12 Beeson Street.
Okay, second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 8 Chaucer Road.
Are there any questions, Board?
I have no questions on this one.
So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 8 Chaucer Road.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 13 Manchester Street.
Are there any questions, board?
I have no questions.
So I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 13 Manchester Street and set the value at $240,800.
Second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 10 Quincy Street.
Are there any questions, board?
I have no questions.
I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 10 Quincy Street and set the value at $228,000.
Second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 53 Bowers Street.
Are there any questions?
I have no questions.
I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 53 Bowers Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 3 New Hampshire Avenue.
Are there any questions?
I have no questions.
So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 3 New Hampshire Avenue.
Second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 25 to 27 Burritt Street.
Are there
I
any
have no
questions?
questions.
Move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 25 to 27 Burritt Street and set the value at $317,400.
Second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 128 to 134 East Hollis Street.
Are there any questions?
No questions.
Move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 128 to 134 East Hollis Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 308 Lake Street.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
No questions.
Paragraph 2,
Yes.
third line down, last word, above-ground pool. Nashua doesn't tax for above-ground pools.
Are they zero valued in the tables? There's zero valued in the tables, so it was picked up, but it's just not, it didn't add any value.
Okay, so it has no impact on the price?
No impact on the value,
Okay,
just noted.
all right. So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 308 Lake Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 26 to 28 Cross Street.
I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 26 to 28 Cross Street and set the value at $343,600.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 48 to 50 William Street.
I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 48 to 50 William Street and set the value at $255,000.
Second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 14 Kinsley Street.
Move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 14 Kinsley Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 14 Massasoit Road.
Are there any questions?
So the garage on the property is falling down?
The garage needs work. The roof is very poor, the building has much deferred maintenance.
And was there an adjustment made for that?
I don't see an adjustment here. No, there was not.
Should there be an adjustment made for that?
Typically, as I didn't inspect the property, so I didn't see the extent of the renovations needed for the garage.
I think it's older than the year listed, but to answer your question,
I'm not asking you to come up with a number on the spot. I'm just saying, is it something that should be result in a downward adjustment of the value of the property?
wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, the canvas system allows for conditions to be applied to outbuildings and yard items. If it is in deplorable shape, again, I didn't personally inspect it, so I'm speaking in general terms here. If it is in disrepair and needs a lot of work, then it should be addressed on the property record card.
There seemed to be a disagreement on the wiring. There is a new wiring in the home, but there's also some old wiring. Is that correct?
I saw some evidence of some old knob and tube, but it wasn't in use. All I saw was Romex, and there was a new, if I remember correctly, it was a new electric box, a new system.
So procedurally, if we defer action on this, we'll be beyond the July 1st deadline. So where do we stand?
You can take action at any time. I think it's somewhat incorrect to refer to July 1st as a deadline. After July 1st, the taxpayer is free to take an appeal without waiting any further from action for this board. They can appeal to the Superior Court or to the Board of Land and Tax Appeals. That's what the significance is of July 1st. This board has the same ability to grant or deny abatements until the case is finally determined by the BTLA or by Superior Court. So you can hold it till your next meeting. If the taxpayer wants to wait till the next meeting, that's up to the two of them. If they don't want to wait till the next meeting, they can appeal, as I said. Even after they appeal, settlement negotiations can ensue. So I don't, as I said before, regarding July 1st as a deadline for action by this board is somewhat misleading.
If I might comment?
So I would recommend, because of the garage issue, that we defer action on this, and if somebody can get out and inspect that. Right now, we're not going to meet again until the 1st of August, is that correct?
Yeah.
So it gives the parties involved a month and a few days to act on it if you're in agreement, Mr.
I
Chairman.
agree, yes. Do we need a motion to do that, or just? take it under advisement.
I think you take it under advisement, and
All right.
I think the people know what to expect.
All right, we're going to take,
Homeowner wants to speak, you want to speak or not?
Mr. Duran, do you have something else to say
Well, I was requesting.
On mic, please.
on the mic?
Thank you. I was requesting a decision today based on the evidence provided. I've done my diligence and provided my evidence. The city has had an opportunity to have KRT provide their evidence, which I believe is insufficient to rebut the presumption that the value of the property is $310,000 as stated in the opinion. So my request is that the board render a decision today.
Okay, thank you.
And if not, I would also request opportunity to present further evidence. If the city is going to have an opportunity to present further evidence, I suppose I should get that opportunity as well. But I don't know procedurally if you're required to abide by my request to issue a decision today. But thank you. Thank you for your time and consideration.
You're absolutely not required to abide by Mr. Duran's request.
So we're going to take 14 Massasoit Road under advisement.
Correct.
The next one is 30 Almont Street.
Are there any questions?
So I move to deny the abatement request for the property located at 30 Almont Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 77 Monroe Street.
I move to approve the abatement request for the property located at 77 Monroe Street and set the value at $323,100.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 91AB New Dunstable Road.
Are there any questions?
I have no questions.
That's the last, let me check. Just a second. I don't have the rest of the, I don't have that. Okay, wait a second, I've got it here. All right, so this is out of order then. All right, so 91AB. So I move to approve the abatement and for 91AB New Dunstable Road and set the value at $292,000. $292,200.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 26 Donna Street.
Are there any questions?
So I move
No
to
questions, yep.
deny the abatement for 26 Donna Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 89 New Dunstable Road. No questions.
So I move to approve the abatement for 89 New Dunstable Road and set the value at $220,800.
Second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 4 Dale Street.
Are there any questions?
On the first paragraph, second line, that 25 should be 35, correct? 1984 to 2019 is 35 years?
Could be, yeah. Just not sure if that's what the owner put in their application, hold on.
You don't have the rest?
No, I mean, I'll just do it off of the, I'll do bottom line, that's okay.
25 years reflects the roof in the abatement application.
That was on the abatement application?
Yes. the
So
abatement
that's what
application
the
says
property
roof
owner
is-
put
is
down?
over 25 years old, yes.
Yeah, in reality, it's 35 years.
I'm sure it is.
Well, I mean, if it's 1984, right, 84
I
to
hear you, yes.
2000 is 16, and 2000 to 2019 is 19, 19 and 16 are 35,
I
correct?
think you're
Oh,
correct.
yes, yes.
You're right,
Okay.
it should be
Okay.
35 years
Yep.
old. I apologize for that.
Well, that's all right,
That
that's all
might
right.
be what he wrote.
What's a
on
math
the
teacher?
taxpayer wrote.
Yeah, it was basically a blanket filing for these 27 that had the same list of reasons, and it was 25 years on all the ones that were comparable.
Correct, yeah, I noticed that as I went through. There's like another 3 or 4 that are in the same
Right.
situation.
Right.
Okay,
I apologize for that.
that's all right. Okay, so we need to act on this then, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I move to deny the abatement for 4 Dale Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next one is 24 Donna Street.
So I move to deny the abatement request for 24 Donna Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next one is 10 Dale Street.
So we need to make the same correction, Mr. Toja? So the second line down, that 25
Yes,
should
no,
be changed to 35.
again, I apologize.
So I move to deny the abatement request for 10 Dale Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 6 Dale Street.
Okay, so once again, the same correction.
Yes.
So I move to deny the abatement request for 6 Dale Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 8 Dale Street.
Same correction.
Again, I apologize.
I move to deny the abatement request for 8 Dale Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 31 Underhill Street.
Move to deny the abatement request for 31 Underhill Street.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 300 Candlewood Park, Unit 27.
I move to deny the abatement request for 300 Candlewood Park, Unit number 27.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 7 Rainbow Drive.
I move to deny the abatement request for 7 Rainbow Drive.
No access. I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 16 Mount Laurel's Drive, Unit 402.
Are there any questions? This was a pretty unique unit.
Yeah, this is where they combine the 2 units into
units.
one, correct?
Yeah, so we spent quite a bit of time discussing this. And there's a historical adjustment on here of 12% for the layout and for some of the loss in value in combining the 2 units. We typically do a range in mass appraisal for this type of situation between 10 and 20%. So it just seemed fair to go to 15 from 12. It put it at the upper end of the owner's range request, but it seemed like a fair change to make for the property record card.
This is now one deed, I guess?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, so I approve the recommendation to reduce the assessment to $832,600 for the property located at 16 Mount Laurels Drive, unit number 402.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Is there one more to review? I think I have one more.
330 Broad Street.
Okay. Are there any questions in regards to that one?
Okay, so let's see. 330 So I move to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 330 Broad Street to $283,100.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. That's it.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Amanda Mazzarole's list of exemptions and credits. Do we want to hold off until,
Actually, you don't have any.
Yeah, I'd just like to remind you that all of my stuff today is only non-public.
okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to be going into non-public session then, is that,
At the end, yes.
okay?
Cheryl Wally's list of charitable, educational, and religious exemptions.
Yes, this is just all the charitable, educational, and religious exemptions for which an approval is recommended for 2019. And to be acted upon before July 1st, 2019. I have a list to sign.
Okay.
I would suggest that one of the properties is going to be discussed in non-public sessions that's on the list. Would it be prudent to wait until we act on that particular property? I mean, I can't say much. but-
Before approving the entire list,
Right.
sure.
Okay, yeah. So do you want to call, so we're going to go to Amanda next, then you want to call a recess? Just give like a 5-minute recess, give people a break, and then we can go into non-public session.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute, I'm sorry, what?
This is public session.
And, Dan, we get the,
Oh, we've got the end, okay, oh, that's,
was this the one you were talking about, 55?
yeah, so we'll.
Yeah, that'll be in public session.
Right.
If you choose. You need counsel.
So we can do these-
55 is public then?
Yeah,
Okay,
so we could do these and then go into non-public.
okay, all right.
Unfinished business, right? It's just put on there.
If they haven't finished, they,
All right, we have
I can finish it.
yeah.
4 items in the unfinished business section. First one is 55 Franklin Street. Doug, could you come forward and explain the breakdown of this property?
Douglas Dame, Commercial Assessor, City of Nashua. Pursuant to the exemption application by the Nashua Christian Academy, Grace Fellowship Church for 55 Franklin Street. That matter has been brought before this board earlier, several weeks ago, and pursuant to commentary made by myself and also by the pastor, Pastor Paul Burby. I've been asked to estimate a value of what the assessment and resulting taxes based upon the prevailing tax rate would be for the building at 55 Franklin Street. And a schedule has been prepared and presented to the board. Are there any questions regarding the results of my calculations?
Mr. Chairman?
I have no questions.
I just want to say thank you for doing that. And it seems, based on the information that was presented at the prior meeting, that it's a fair way to approach the situation. Do you concur with that assessment?
I do. I tried to be as fair as possible, and I took into account comments made to me during my inspection by Pastor Paul, as well as a recognition that the church says, and I have reason to believe that the building is partially being used for religious purposes, but not the entire building. I took note of the floors of the building that were being used by various ministries of the church. And factoring that into my calculations, I have estimated that perhaps 50% of the 4 levels of this 3-story building, 50% of the building should be exempt, and the other 50% should be taxed. So I brought that into my calculations on the schedule that you have in front of you.
Thank you.
And the building is for sale at this time?
Yes. The full 2019 assessed value of the building is $2,251,500, and the building is listed for sale by a commercial broker for $2,355,000, or roughly $61 a square foot.
Okay.
There was a deal that was pending, but the deal fell through, so now the building is back on the market.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the,
I would move to approve the proposed tax exemption for the Grace, would it be the Grace Fellowship Church? Is that the proper title, or?
The structure is known as it's now the former Nashua Christian Academy, but Grace Fellowship Church is I believe, the entity.
Okay, so the Grace Fellowship Church located at 55 Franklin Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Next item on unfinished business is 6 Satin Avenue. We did already discuss that during Greg's presentation. The next one is 41 Berkeley Street.
Chairman. Are you entertaining discussion on the?
Entertain discussion, sure.
I just want to give probably a brief history. The owner has expressed dissatisfaction with the recommended value for the property. She has suggested that another assessor, another firm be considered to do the assessment. So just a brief history lesson. On this property, there were two assessors from Nashua who went out to value the property prior to the current assessment. And we have 4 assessors that work in the office. One has worked in the commercial and industrial area since around 1980. Prior to that, he had worked as a residential assessor for a local bank. Then he came to Nashua in the early 2000s and has worked full-time as a commercial and industrial assessor for the city since then. So when you look at who you're going to send out, the city felt it would not be prudent to even take him into consideration where he hasn't done any kind of residential assessing since around 1980. Then the next 2 people you would turn to, one is currently a residential assessor, one's a former residential assessor and is now doing commercial assessing and is helping out with some residential assessment. And the homeowner has expressed grave reservations about both of those assessors. So the decision was made that it wouldn't be prudent to send those 2 gentlemen back to the property. We have a 4th and final choice, who the homeowner at times has praised and yet has periodically referred to him as the junior assessor. He's been with the department for a little over 3 years. He spent the first several months working in an administrative support capacity and is approaching 3 years working as a residential assessor. But as I say, he's been viewed and referred to as the junior assessor, so a decision was made to not have that gentleman go out and look at the property. So then that left us with having to turn to an outside agency. So the city's thinking is you would want somebody who would be knowledgeable about property values in Nashua, someone whose knowledge about the property values in Nashua would be current. And we have just gone under, just underwent a reassessment of the entire city from April to October of 2018. So the company with the most current knowledge outside of the 4 assessors in Nashua about Nashua property values would be KRT. And now the homeowner has expressed dissatisfaction with the value that's been placed on her property by KRT. So at this point, what do? You've eliminated the 3 assessors in Nashua, the 4th if you consider the commercial one that I referenced. Do you eliminate KRT, who would be really the 4th assessor that you could give consideration to, the second entity, and pursue a 3rd entity and consider a 5th assessor? So I thought about that, and what I thought we could substitute for that 5th assessor or that 3rd entity would be an assessor by the name of History. And let's see what history tells us. If you go back to 2007, the property at 41 Berkeley Street was assessed for $630,300. In late 2007, we entered the Great Recession. And the following that I'm about to tell you comes from an article in the Wall Street Journal that was published several weeks ago. And what the article reported was that from 2008 to 2012, property values dropped. And then in 2013, they entered a period where they started to recover, and they slowly recovered over a 6-year period from 2013 to 2018, and in 2018, they had recovered their full value. So keeping that in mind, if you go back to the reference point of the property being valued at $630,300, and you take the recommended value that was presented by KRT of $651,900, that's a 3.4% increase over the 2007 value. And if you recall from the meeting back in the 6th of June, there was another property on Berkeley Street we were talking about. The gentleman was concerned about a 4% variation, and KRT had said that a 4% variation would be commonly considered normal within the assessing profession. So this is a 3.4% variation. If you subscribe to round numbers, it's a 3% variation. So what I would submit to you is that we should take a look and give serious consideration to the $630,300 value in 2007, allow for the fact that there could be a 3, 4, 5% variation among assessors, and it seems like the recommended price of $651,900 would be a fair price based on what history tells us.
I agree. That's the number I think we should approve.
So I would move to set the value for 41 Berkeley Street at $651,900.
Second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is 42 Berkeley Street.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
42 Berkeley Street. Now, I know that Dr. O'Connor, with his comments, at least what I heard him say, is he did not feel that the point was made that the value should hold. And he brought up the point about the basement and water in the basement, but as was pointed out by KRT, it's very common with that type of basement to have some seepage. There isn't any evidence of standing water, so that would not have a negative value on that house relative to other houses with the same type of foundation. Then the second concern that Dr. O'Connor had pointed out was the fact that the house has a bath and a half rather than 2 baths, and KRT pointed out, in fact, that if it was a 2-bathroom home, it would make it a more attractive home as far as purchase goes and would add value to the property. But the fact that it has 1.5 baths does not subtract value from the property. So I felt that the argument that KRT made was convincing and that the recommended assessment seems reasonable.
I agree as well. We did hear from KRT about those 2 issues, and I did get the letter from Dr. O'Connor, but I believe the assessment of 380 is correct.
I move to deny the abatement application request for 42 Berkeley Street.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Do you want to have Mrs. Ortolano come up before we go to
Okay,
non-public?
okay.
Mrs. Ortolano, will you want to address the board?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. Thank you. Couple things. Mrs. Colhoun came up and spoke to you about a concern she had with the property at 1 Bishop, and I just wanted to add a little bit of information to that. I was not involved with her research, but I do communicate with her, and, you know, she points out, and to me represents an issue that I have brought forth repeatedly with the capture of permits and our struggle to do that. And, you know, it's very frustrating when you're a resident and you find something, and I think you can see from her email, she put a good bit of research into that work and looking at it, and sent a nice, you know, paragraph of information to the director. And the response that came back was 2 sentences. And I actually received a call at 7:30 in the morning from Mrs. Colhoun, frustrated, because the email response wasn't correct. She didn't feel it was correct. And I said, well, wait a minute, you know, her big concern was the staff had had a meeting on it, they had had a lengthy discussion, and the 2 sentences, one of them was, changes have been, hang on a second, changes were made to this account. This is what was written. 1 Bishop is being updated for the December tax bill. Changes were made to the account, period. She says to me, changes aren't made. I said, well, how do you know? She said, I printed the card last week, and it wasn't updated. I said, well, obviously, when they met, they updated it. They must have looked at it. So she got her computer, I got mine. We went on the GIS, because that's not updated nightly, and it wasn't updated. And I said, well, I'm going to the assessing office. Let me print a card, or let me talk to staff. I'll figure out what's going on. I went to assessing. I printed a card. One of the staff members brought it up on GIS for me, reviewed the card with me, and said, well, none of this is right. All of this is wrong. The data's wrong. And I said, I know. And I didn't explain the email we had gotten from administration. I just said, it's not right. She said, well, let me get the assessor out here so you can talk to him. The assessor came out. In 90 seconds, I had a full understanding of what had gone down. And it was completely different from, to me, this response. And this response was just a dismissal, in my opinion, of what somebody brought forward. And that's I wrote about this letter to the state. I sent a letter up to the state just a few days ago, and this response is exactly where I feel we fall short on transparency down here. I think it should have been written completely differently. And with regard, and now you have a response that came to you today, which maybe is more elaborate, I haven't even read it. But please understand what we're getting out there. And I would have just written something completely different, and the director just didn't seem to know that the card was not updated. What Mrs. Colhoun pointed out is there was a new picture on the card and a new drawing, but none of the values were really correct. And so when the director says changes have been made to the card, you feel like, is she twisting words? Are we being misled? Yeah, there's a new picture and a new footprint, but the data hasn't changed. That's the concern. And when the value is $132,000, clearly it's an assessing office, and for those of us on the outside, we look at the numbers. But anyway, and to point out the permit issue, because you know this has been significant with me, I did a right to know for the permit report. And what I got was a PDF file of 24 pages of permits. What I had always been told is that the permit department and the assessing department work together, and a report is run each year so that the permit information for the assessors to go value is transferred. I didn't know the exact mechanism of that, nor do I need to, but I think it comes through a city view process. So I did a right to know to get the permit data, because I was concerned that we don't really look at it the way we should, or we're not really capturing it all. I've said this for 8 months. The report I got back from the administration was just a PDF file, 24 pages long, with all of the non-value permits in there, the electrical, the plumbing, the mechanical. Of course, I'm interested in the value permits and how we track those. And it was alarming to me, because if that's the format I have to assume that what the administration sent me was the format they get. If they had an Excel spreadsheet or a workable form, I would assume they would give me something workable. Obviously, I work with the data. But what they get is a PDF file that's totally non-workable. And that is concerning to me, because I can't separate out the data to see what's going on. So how are you separating out the data? So, and does it, so I'm not certain the whole permit issue is really being understood. We'll put that aside. There was a bunch of abatements here that were addressed. Preserve Drive piqued my interest, and it shows you, I think, the errors that can be made in the KRT process. Preserve Drive was valued initially in the fall in the reevaluation. And then when there was the hearing in my ward, a gentleman came out who lives there, an attorney, and represented the street with a concern that it was just too high. And he was able to get KRT come back and reevaluate that neighborhood. And I think they took about $30,000 off of each home. They did a second look. And so I'm actually now in a right to know to try and get letters that were sent out to figure out what KRT did a second or third time, because that data isn't trackable. We have a website that allows us to look at the initial data put up for commercial and residential, but any secondary changes, which my understanding were they aren't many, I don't know how to track. But in talking to the attorney and in looking at the data that I tracked on Preserve, there was about a $30,000 reduction given to each home, because KRT went down and reevaluated those properties. And yet, we gave an abatement to 6 Preserve, 22 Preserve, and 28 Preserve, significant abatements between 10 and 20% on properties that weren't right, despite the fact that they had gone by and gone back on a second closer look. And I just think that's interesting. And with regard to Mrs. Corazzini's house selling in 2016, we get very hung up that the sale price is a hard value. A house can't be overbought. There's no such thing. I always say if it can be underbought, it can be overbought. And when I met with Ken Rogers, he said to me that he was in a situation like us, that he overbought his house. And when he first got it, he was assessed too high. And he called in the assessor and said, take me down. You know, you're chasing me. He felt he was being chased. He's the one who identified sales chasing on our property card when we met with him at the Amherst Street School. It was Mr. Rogers who said, flipped the card over and kept looking and said, I think you were chased. He was the one who identified it. But he explained his own personal story. Now, I know KRT is in Haverhill, and I just happened to go on the Haverhill website searching for Ken Rogers to see if I could find a residence, to see if I could see, did he purchase a property, was there abatement, was there a reduction, what went on? Sure enough, I find somebody. I don't know for sure if it's him, but the whole story reads like what was told to me. It was a house purchased for $515, and yet the assessment in 2016, like Mrs. Corazzini, and yet the assessment is $480, and when it was bought, I don't know when they reevaluated, but when it was bought, it was, you know, the assessment stayed down at like $430. And I look now, and that house is, quote, underassessed, and it just won an abatement in 2018. So I want you to understand that if that in fact represents the owner's house, and it is what he kind of told me, just because you paid $515 doesn't mean it's the value. You know, there are circumstances, and like Ken Rogers said to me, I overbought my house. I overbought it. And he's not, if that's the case, and if it's just by luck I looked up a house and it happens to be the story, then this is a lovely story to share because it fits the profile too, whether it's his or not. House just pinged in my computer. I just sat here in the back looking it up. So that's something important to bear in mind. I was truly disappointed to hear your analogy of my difficult requests of the city and lack of cooperation to use assessors in the city and KRT. First of all, I was told by Steve Bolton that sometimes in these residential assessments, negotiations take place. Sometimes you have a difficult situation and we negotiate with the homeowner. I tried to reach out to KRT to do that process, and what I have found is I feel what Steve had said to me is not accurate. You really can't negotiate with the city. And, you know, your comments of what you put out here is something I couldn't comment to because you're not at a table to negotiate, and I feel you strongly misrepresented my concerns. First of all, I want to clear the record and say when I refer to one of our assessors as a junior assessor, it's not to be rude. You're right, I've complimented his work many times, and you're right, I recognize how hard he works. It's because he's the younger one, and I'm just using it as a term, not as a rude term. So my apologies if you interpret it that way, but I wished you had asked me. Secondly, the two brothers and the issues with the two brothers in my property were a concern. My bigger concern is when the second one came out to look at my property, he did not answer our questions and did not get back to us with answers. That's an issue. I think we were worthy of a response, and we were told, I will get back to you in a week with answers. We did not get answers. And I RTK'd the emails. I just got them from the city. I can see mine in there in the responses. Have you looked into this? Have you followed up? No, I haven't. No, I haven't. So they're on the record, and I requested the right to know emails from this assessor to be sure that these emails were there. That was my bigger concern. Thirdly, when it came to KRT doing our abatement, it wasn't my suggestion. I was called into the office, I have the email by Miss Kleiner, to speak with her. Our abatement was given to Gary, the original individual who made the original valuation. I wasn't concerned, I did not raise an issue with that until a staff member had identified when the abatement was given to him that he was not happy at all to have it and he didn't want it. That he had said that John Duhamel told him it would be outsourced. When the staff member told me that, and I will send the letters to you from legal on this, I asked the staff member to speak to Steve Bolton because I was concerned that the staff member wasn't appropriate. They didn't want it. So the staff member went to Steve Bolton. My lawyer wrote to Steve Bolton and said, hey, if this isn't going to work, don't put it there. Steve Bolton wrote a letter back saying, nope, it's going to be fine. She's going to be treated just the way everyone else is. Her abatement won't be put at the bottom of the pile. It's going to be worked its way up just like everyone else's. Don't worry. She's going to be treated fine. We accepted that. There was no more communication. Miss Kleiner then called me in, had a staff meeting, I believe one of her first staff meetings with the mayor, explained to me that her assessor was extremely emotional and distraught over taking our assessment. And she asked, would I mind if it went out to KRT? How would I feel about that? And I agreed with her. I said, I'm not thrilled about KRT, and I'm not thrilled about the response we got to KRT with our house, but she explained that they had 2 days of service left on the contract for them to do abatement, so there was money there. And would I agree with it? And then wanted me to agree that all the Berkeley Street properties would be given out there. It was interesting that I was the one who was giving approval for all of Berkeley Street to go out. I said yes in the spirit of moving things forward, in the spirit of compromise. What I did tell Ms. Kleiner in the meeting is I just wanted to be certain that we would be treated the same, with the same process that the city uses. That was of the utmost importance to me. My neighbors were never contacted that KRT was doing their abatement. They ended up asking me. One gentleman 6 weeks later said, where's my abatement? Do you know what happened? They said, yeah, it went to KRT. And they were not happy about that because of the original assessment. But I said, look, we're giving it a shot. And the city, I don't feel that we had to give the other houses out to KRT. I don't know what the grudge was, but it was Ms. Kleiner's position that this assessor couldn't handle any property on Berkeley Street. They really couldn't do it. It was her decision, and I went along with it. And I'm okay with that, but I want you to have that information. I'm going to send you the letters from legal, and I'm going to let you take a look at that. I wished you had talked to me before you spoke, but you are entitled to your opinion. I love the fact that you went back to 2007 or 6 and used data. I am going to give you data, Dan, that is going to show you how many properties from that time frame we have undervalued, are completely undervalued. Ms. Calhoun has been looking at that endlessly and is distraught by that data. We are so low. And I showed you the property at 67 Berkeley Street. That's a 4,000 square foot home on 1.2 acres that really did not go up at all. Stayed at 532. And 20 years ago, that property, almost 30 years ago, that property was bought for around $450. That property has moved $80,000 in 30 years. That's low. And you know what's happening right now when people tell me land isn't an issue? That property is being subdivided by the owner because it's big. It's got a buildable lot, and they're building their retirement home on it and selling the front end. Tell me there isn't value there. There is. And they're going to make out well because they don't have to buy a parcel of land for $150,000 and then sell the property. That's real. It's happening right now. Okay, I am truly disappointed because I came here with data to put up on the screen, and I didn't know that the screen isn't going to be here for us to see. When you set up a room with this format, and I have data, I'm no longer at a table to show data, I'm sitting here. So it makes it more difficult for me to communicate with you, and I didn't know that the format of the meeting was going to change. I'm going to address just a brief concern. I think you do not know that I asked for an audit log from the city to look at property changes made in the calculative data on properties from October to the end of, or the beginning of April. I want October 1st to the beginning of April. And I got an audit log, and it looks something like this. And what I noticed on this log is that my house at 41 Berkeley Street is here on the 9th with a correction of $12,000. And that makes sense because the assessor came out on the 8th and did type us an email saying, I'm making these these simple corrections. I'll get back to you on the big stuff. And he did. He changed the yard items, and he made a building change for the basement having some water issues, and made a change on the garage because it was falling down. What I was told at that time repeatedly is, and when we asked, do we have to file an abatement, the answer was yes. At this point in time, abatements have to be filed. I can't do any big changes to deal with something for 2018. It has to go into an abatement. The MS1 was coming out that week. The MS1 was actually submitted to the state on October 12th. So they were at the end of the road here to get the data secure. But when I pulled this report, I noticed that 285 West Hollis was dropped $131,000. 713 West Hollis was dropped $121,000. And 69 to 75 Main Street was dropped $92,000 and corrected. These were big corrections, so it piqued my interest. How did these properties get an assessor to reduce them so aggressively without an abatement? And I'm sitting before you trying to fight for an $80,000 correction. So I pulled the records. What I found is 285 West Hollis Street was an abatement that you approved for 2017. And what is so interesting about this for me, is that it was approved by you for $175,000. The sales data used for that was 2017 sales data, property data. That's great. The email trail that I got from the city shows that the owner of the property is emailing the assessor saying, oh, do I really have to go up? For 2018, we just did an abatement and we did an appraisal, and I think I should stay at 175. The the 175 value that they were awarded for the 2017 abatement somehow did not get put into the computer, and the computer had the house valued at 255. KRT moved this property to 306. So KRT put 20% on the property. The abated houses that were used on that 285 West Hollis Street for sale data went up between 20 and 30% in the KRT adjustment. So my question is, why would an assessor agree to set it to 175, shave off 131,000, and not put it through an abatement? So now this property sits at the 217 price. You're telling her 216 price needed to go up, and all the other properties around them went up. I don't understand how that arrangement was made, and in my opinion, that should have been a secondary abatement, but that property deserved an increase. And that's what happened at 7 Auburn Street. The deal that gentleman thought he had was, I'm assessed at I want an abatement for 240 and a 2017 review. I'm coming back in 2018, KRT's here. No, I'm not going to be part of that. I'm staying at 240. And the assessor says, okay, you can stay at 240, and I'll give you the ratio, and takes it down to 229. So that property got changed. If we did that to every assessor who brought you 2017 data, none of the 27 properties would increase. And there is no sales data to support dropping 285 West Hollis Street to 175. A matter of fact, it switched from a business property to a single family, and the base rate for single family is higher than what it was when it was a business. You get a base rate increase on a single family. So the next property at 713 West Hollis Street is a property that has 3 buildings on it. Our junior assessor had done a good amount of permit capture. The final building put up was a 2-car garage with a loft, bathroom, room upstairs, set of stairs to go up. It looks like it could be an apartment, whatever. It's a functional room. But that garage got assessed in 2017, and the property moved from 290 to 317. KRT comes along and sets it to 523 because it's 3 separate properties, 3 buildings, and they're all a Cape House, an older Cape House, a newer Cape House, and a new garage with a loft. So I look at that valuation, yeah, that's a big increase, but there's a lot going on this property, square footage and buildings. Seems reasonable. Somehow they managed to come down 21,000, and they get set to 406 by the assessor with no abatement. What's more interesting to me is I pulled every property file, and there's no documentation. The old card stapled to the new card to say, here's how we went from here to here. It's not there. That concerns me because I don't have an audit trail. I don't have a paper trail. The third property is 6975 Main Street. I see our assessor Doug in here looking at the shoe shop there on the corner with an abatement. This property is right next to it. Why last year were they able to shave off 92 grand without coming in here? I really feel that there's a write-up, the property owner came. You know, when you're in the middle of a reevaluation and all that data is being captured, I don't know what your rule is, but it would seem to me your assessors would be careful about going up, making $90,000 adjustments when KRT is doing their data in 2018. You would be telling them to abate. The individual did write up a reason, but you would say abate. So I am deeply concerned because I spent a lot of time in the assessing office in September and October. And I listened to the staff tell literally every resident coming in, honestly, you have to abate. You have to abate. I had the assessor at my home saying, you have to abate. And then I see $300,000 shaved off 3 properties without real specific documentation and no abatement process. I feel I'm being treated so unfairly, and I'd like you to look into these properties, 6975 Main Street, 713 West Hollis Street, and 285 West Hollis Street, and help me understand what happened here. Because this is data that's going right to the state. I don't understand it, and I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. Now, for the record, please, I could not, the email I sent you regarding KRT's statement in the last set of minutes that said that I had formally written an email to them requesting they inspect the 5 other homes. I have no record. I wrote to Rob Tozier. I asked him to send me that email if he had it. I received nothing. I feel that was a misrepresentation by KRT. Additionally, in the record that I gave you from Right to Know minutes I received from John Griffin, John Duhamel, and KRT, there is a second record in writing that says that we went to the KRT hearing on September 6th and requested through Ken Rogers that those properties be changed. There's 2 different stories out there. Neither are true. We did not request any property be changed. We focused on our property with a package and requested that it be lowered. You folks are really disappointing me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I address the board a moment? Peter Graves from Exceptional Properties, or what was Exceptional Properties, one of the cases mentioned under agenda item number 6.
It's up to the board. You have rules, but you can suspend your own rules.
You want to allow somebody who's not on the agenda?
If I might, I promise to be brief and stay on point. I will not ramble.
Whatever you want to do. I guess my only concern is if you start eating a lot of numbers, we don't have any numbers in front of us, nothing to reference.
I'm interested in talking numbers. I'm interested in, may I approach the mic?
Okay.
If you're going to talk at all, that'd be a good idea.
Briefly.
Beautiful. Okay. As I stated before I was on the mic, I'm Peter Graves. At one time, I was the Chief Financial Officer of Exceptional Properties. The property that's referred to is L. Gilson Road, Depot Road, the village at Hollis Depot. We were the declarant of that property. I came in here thinking I might say one thing, which is a slight criticism of the assessors. That property should have been retitled to the village at Hollis Depot years ago. Exceptional Properties has been dissolved for years. But more to the point, the valuation that's discussed in the narrative here from Ms. Kleiner is absolutely correct. It's supported by condominium law. It's supported by an action of the condominium documents. The land is unsaleable. It is landlocked. It is quarried to within an inch of its life. It's about 1.5 feet above the water table there. It has no value. The fact that it's in Nashua and appended to a development in Hollis is really inconsequential. There's no way to value something that cannot be sold. This is not an income-producing property. That much being said, I really don't think that it's all that unusual when a project spans town lines for one town to be burdened somewhat by a development going on another one. There's a development off of Farley Road in Hollis where the access is in Hollis, but the buildings are in Nashua. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. In terms of the Gilson Road property, one of my dubious pedigrees is manufactured housing. I've been president of Rogers Mobile Home Parks for over 20 years. I've served under 3 governors on the New Hampshire Board of Manufactured Housing. I'm secretary of the New Hampshire Manufactured Housing and Modular Housing Association. If it came in as manufactured housing, I don't care how many boards you nail to it, it's always going to be manufactured housing, both for financing and for sale. I'm also a licensed New Hampshire real estate broker. You're never going to market that property as something other than a base manufactured home. In the 330 manufactured homes that are in the parks we operate in Nashua, fully 75%, maybe 80% of them have additions on them. They will always be looked at sold as, financed by, and administered as manufactured housing. That's really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. I think at this time, we'll take a 5-minute recess before we go into non-public session.